Hello, my friends. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to take a large Dominion collection, where you own many expansions, and take it from a bunch of different boxes that look like this and turn it into something that looks like this. You can see here that we've got clean rows or columns of cards divided nicely. We have divider cards printed out where every card becomes easy to find. The trade-off here is in structural integrity. These use the original cardboard boxes that your cards came in, and they get quite heavy and can be a little flimsy, but this is the super cheap way to go. So now let's take a look at our tools that we're going to use for this. As mentioned, you're going to use the original Dominion box. Multiple original Dominion boxes, actually, as you saw in the earlier shot. So I save my Dominion boxes in storage. I can always bring a new one out if the collection gets too big. You're also going to use some kind of a felt. I have some extra felt here from a previous project. Or you might use even an old sweatshirt or any sort of kind of cloth. It's going to lay in the bottom of the box, which really helps cards not to slide around. The scissors and the Sharpie are for marking and cutting the cloth. That's an 18-inch metal ruler that becomes very handy for marking out on the cloth, as well as the foam core board. That's that black stuff that you see to the right of the screen. The foam core board is, you can find that at the dollar store. Well, I guess the $1.25 store, or whatever that is nowadays. Inflation is killing us, right? Still pretty cheap though. Get yourself a sheet of foam core. And then you see that red tool, that's a razor blade. You'll use that for cutting your foam core. And then for those dividers, I'm showing a sheet of, or 50 sheets of cardstock. This is 80-pound cardstock. It's what my particular printer can handle. You'll want to go as heavy as your printer can handle. If you don't have a printer or you don't have one that can handle cardstock, I'll mention later an alternative method that you could use to get these dividers. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm just showing one of my expansions that I'm currently going to do this project on. But the first thing you're going to do is take all of the cards out of the box. And then we're going to pull the inner plastic black tray out of the box. And in this solution, you won't be needing that anymore. Of course, I don't throw anything away. I think I may have those in storage still as well. So now you have an empty base box. So we're going to measure the box, but it's basically about 29 centimeters by 29 centimeters. The box is pretty much square enough that you don't really have to worry about that when you are getting ready to cut your fabric. Because I've done this project myself, I'm not going to really draw the lines out and cut this, but I'm just showing you what you would do is you would measure out your 29 centimeters and into a square. And then you're going to use your scissors to cut that square out. Next, you're going to grab your foam core board and you're going to measure out your 29 centimeter length of the whole box. And then you're going to go 5 centimeters tall. And you're going to want to make 4 of those. You can see here what one looks like, 29 centimeters wide, 5 centimeters tall. And it has those notches in it. Here we've got 4 pieces, 2 identical and 2 identical to each other. And we've got some notches in them. The notches will line up in a way that gives some structural rigidity to the whole thing once you have it in the box, so that dividers aren't falling over while you're trying to put the cards in the box. This is the most simplest layout that you're going to need for the 3 columns of cards that I showed earlier. Here's how you would lay these out. Using the notches, you can see that we can put together a little structure where our cards will go in between those dividers. The great thing about foam core being so cheap and so easy to work with is that you can get pretty creative with how many dividers you want to have in the box. And with this method I'm doing where you do notching, no glue is necessary. There's no glue necessary in this. The notches, and then of course the fact that these pieces are running the full width of the box and they tuck into the rigid corners of the box, keeps everything where it should be and allows you to have some creativity in the way that you set up your dividers. This set of dividers right here is how I initially set up the first box, because the lower left section you see there was where I kept all of the base type cards, like all of your victory cards, your curse cards, and all of the gold, silver, platinum, copper. That middle section there was where I originally kept the playmats. And I'll show you later that I think I'm going to move those elsewhere now that the whole collection is growing with 3 more expansions as part of this project. So here's the box. Here's a bottom box. And here's that felt after it's been cut into a nice square to fit into the bottom of the box. Don't skip this step. Trust me, you'll thank me later. This is such a valuable piece of the storage system, because when a box is not completely full, this felt keeps the cards from sliding around and even sliding like underneath each other, which becomes really difficult to have to reseparate your cards every time the box gets shaken in the slightest. So that piece there that's running the full width of the box, it should be tight. You can see that I'm fitting it in to the bottom there. And then that's where it rests. And again, no glue necessary, because we're using these full-length pieces that push up against each other and push up against the box's walls, essentially. So again, you'll want it to be snug, so you can cut a little bit long on your first cut, and then start to cut that foam board down a little bit more and a little bit more until you've got it nice and snug in the box. And then you can see here that with my notching system, I just take that other full-length piece, lay it in there with my little extra divider lying under there. The extra divider is not a full 5 centimeters tall, because I was actually just using a piece of scrap that just happened to be pretty much the right size. But for the main dividers I'm showing, like the set you see on the left that's not in a box right now, you want to have those be the full length of the box. Now here are the divider cards that I use. What I like to do with the divider cards is print the rules on them, because that's essentially the piece that allows us to not have to refer to our instruction books all of the time. And I like to print the rules on both sides. You can see that these cards are identical on both sides. That allows me to flip them from side to side so that the tabs can alternate left and right as I'm storing my cards. And by having the identical thing printed on both sides, when I'm adding cards, which I'm doing now in this project because of new expansions, if the left-right gets mixed up or messed up because I'm bringing in a new card right in the middle of things, I can just flip it over, and then it cascades a bit, right, like a domino. I'm flipping left, right until everything is back to being a nice even mix of left and right. This is a free website that I use to print out those divider cards. It's domdiv.bgtools.net. What this does is it's free, and you tell it the cards you have, some configuration about how you want them to be printed out, and then it generates a PDF for you. So in this project, I have 3 expansion packs that I need to add in. I've done all of the previous things before. So I'm using Control-click to select the 3 expansions that I'm interested in here. I'm not going to give a full tutorial on how this works, but you want to go into each section where you can fine tune how the PDF is going to turn out for you. This is where I tell this thing that I want it to print rules on both sides of the cards. That's in here. You can choose to have horizontal or vertical card orientation depending on what sort of storage solution you're using. So this is not limited to the kind of storage solution I'm showing you today. It can be used for multiple types. It's got a lot of customization that's available in here. It's really a great free tool. And then folks that built this do a great job of keeping it up to date when new expansions come out. And here's the example of what comes out. You can see that I've got a little tab there. I'm using some dots and crop marks instead of having full lines where I'm cutting. If you don't have a printer that can handle some cardstock, or you don't have a printer at all, the way that I originally did this project, when I had a whole bunch of expansions to do at once, I created this PDF and then I emailed it to a print shop. I sent them the PDF, didn't even have to go there to do that. And I let them know that we did need to be particular about the first and second page lining up with each other, because they will be printed two-sided. That's how this PDF gets produced, so that you can print two-sided so that your cards can be double-sided. Then I can have the rules on both sides of a card. It all lined up pretty nicely. I went in and picked it up. I think it was about $30 to $40. And again, that was for every set up to 2019 or so. Some people might say that that's arguably cheaper than all of the money you're going to be spending on your inkjet ink. But it was a great way to launch the project initially. No matter which way you go, it is a lot of manual cutting of every single divider card. That's the part where you put on some good music or some Netflix that you don't really have to pay attention to, then you just go for it. One choice you'll need to make is what order you want to store the cards in. Some people like to store them by expansion, and when you do that, the advantage to that is that you never have to come back and rearrange the order of the cards and rearrange the orientation of the tabs if the tab is on the left or the right. For myself, though, I actually like to do a global alphabetical sort. And I do this because a lot of times we are playing games that are sometimes randomly generated. We use an app to do this. So the app is on my phone, and I can just glance at the name of the card and go to my global sorted alphabet. But it's up to you how you'd like to sort the cards. Here's my final product, but before incorporating the new expansions. So this is what I'm working with as I'm going into the project today. 2 boxes stored all of my cards. And then I had a third box where I stored the various tokens. You can see I currently have the player mats laying in there. That is how part of my transition I'm doing right now. The empty gap that you see on the left side was originally where I kept my player mats. But as I'm trying to get more cards in here, I'm wondering if all 3 of my expansions could maybe still fit in these 2 boxes by moving the player mats into that third box. Because we use the phone app for picking the cards that we're going to use in a game, I keep the randomizers just over here in the corner of the third box. Now these are the very little cardboard tokens that come with some expansions and the little wooden blocks. I picked up these containers from the Dollar Tree or whatever your local $1.25 store is. I think got all 6 of them at once in one set. This is where I keep all of our little metal coins and tokens. This is a fantastic little container with this cool beveled edge that makes it really easy to just slide the tokens out with your finger. I think that this thing may have been the cash register tray in a kid's toy cash register. I'm really not sure. I don't know where it came from. It just showed up one day years ago, and when I was putting the storage system together, I somehow remembered I had it lying around. You can see I'm using some styrofoam type stuff. It's that flexible kind. It's not stiff at all. And again, that's just something where a package showed up. I don't throw anything away, much to my wife's chagrins. But so I had these little bits of styrofoam that I could kind of cut to size here. The instruction books, you can see I saved them all. I've got them all. They get pretty thick when they're stacked up. I used to keep them in this third box, just laying on top of everything else, and that worked great. But with me moving the player mats from the left hand box there over to this third box on the right side, the instruction books aren't going to fit anymore. Here is, as far as I've been able to find, one of the cheapest ways to do a mass storage system for your Dominion cards that drastically reduces the shelf space required for your cards, and in my opinion, makes for a very quick and easy way to have access to all your cards when you're setting up a game. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you find great satisfaction in doing this project yourself if you decide to take it on. But again, here I am showing that the boxes do flex. They do get very heavy, and they will flex. Even with the lid on, it's going to feel a little dicey. So you want to grab the box with both hands and carry the box with both hands. It'll be quite heavy. But I do stack them on the shelves. That part is okay. It doesn't damage the dividers or the cards. So again, thank you for watching, and Happy New Year.